Welcome back to Old Guy REI. We're continuing our Meet the Investor series, and this morning Michael Zuber was gracious enough to give us some of his time. I really appreciate that, and it's kind of surreal for me if you can't imagine where we started, a few years ago, just how we found you and the whole community. It's great. Thank you for coming.
Oh no, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity. You give so much to our community. You lead you have the first accountability group, and six other or five others have followed you. So this is the least I could do for you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I was trying to organize my thoughts ever since you agreed to do this, but we'll see how well I did. You mentioned the school community, which has been a great project of yours, and it looks like it's growing day by day. I know you have a few new people join each week,
Mhm.
and it's been really nice because recently you've given time on Sundays to go live and answer questions. I think that's a really positive thing because even though you do have a lot of people in there on other accountability calls throughout the week,
Mhm.
I think it's really special for people to be able to get kind of one-on-one with you and ask their questions. Sometimes it seems like maybe they're a little bit shy to start asking questions until people get the ball rolling, but it
Yeah.
it usually turns out real well. Today, this is April 25th, and I know this Sunday you mentioned maybe having a larger group. Did you open that up a
Yeah.
different?
So what I'm going to do, so every Sunday at 8 a.m. that I'm not traveling, so with that one exclusion, I'm going to be going live for the school members. But I have large communities out there. So once a month, I will be inviting other folks. So this Sunday, I'm going to invite people who bought my course, How to Get Started One Rental at a Time. So we may have a lot of people in school bought that as well, clearly, but I'm going to invite more people. In addition to that, this Sunday, we're bringing on Stephen Dow to talk about the 90% CLTV, creative financing, 50-40-10. Um, and we're going to have Property Radar. I just spoke with them. That's actually why I was a couple minutes late. They're going to come next Sunday and talk about, other things. So not only am I going live, but I'm tapping into my network to help people strike, right? I think 2025 is the year of the investor. And, not only want them asking me questions, but I want them asking my experts questions. So, um, yeah. So this Sunday we'll have a slightly larger audience, I'm guessing. But 3 out of the 4 months or 3 out of the 4 weeks of the month, it's 100% school and school only.
Okay, great. That's going to be good. I've had the opportunity to speak with Stephen. We haven't had the chance to work together yet, but he's really awesome
It's
about
coming.
getting back. Yeah,
Yeah.
getting back to especially the ORAAT folks.
Yeah.
He treats us really well. Um, so you kind of have seen what I've been trying to do with helping the newest of the new
Mhm.
investors, just trying to figure out how to get started. But I was wondering about your journey when you got started. I know you had a very successful career in sales. You
Mhm.
were just plugging away. What popped into your head to even think about real estate? Why was that a thought for you in the beginning?
Um, well, I think it was a couple of fold. One is money. I think everybody has a money mindset. Mine was very much a scarcity mindset. I'm not afraid to admit it. I was raised in a household where if money was around, we were happy. And if money wasn't around, dad was pissed off, and dad was pissed off a lot. So money was always a stressor. So I always wanted to have a financial situation for my family, my daughter, um, that wasn't anything like I lived with. So I was always thinking about money. Now, in the beginning, I thought my answer was the stock market. Fortunately, unfortunately, depending how you want to look at it, I turned 7 grand in measly savings into almost 200 grand. I remember saying, I'm smarter than Warren Buffett. And of course, I wasn't. I never was. I eventually lost 80% of that money in a very short window because of fraud, right? WorldCom and Enron. And I was humbled. I was, went from highest of highs, like I thought I figured out the matrix, and then the matrix spanked me hard, and I knew, because of that. depression and loss that stocks would never be my answer. I didn't have the mentality. I didn't have the discipline, right? I was an emotional trader. And frankly, at 53, I'm still emotional. So I suck at stocks. I don't hide that fact. Uh, but real estate spoke to me. It was slower moving. It was non-efficient, meaning if I found a deal, I could create a deal. Stocks, like, you know, the price every second. Real estate wasn't that way. And it's really funny to say it now. My grand plan, Frank, at the beginning was 4 single family homes because I figured I was a W-2 employee and I started this, I was 30. If I could get 4 by the time I'm 35, I will have them paid off by the time I'm 65. So I'll have a 401k and 4 rental properties. Now, why is that good? Because I just wanted, dude, Frank, all I wanted was a better retirement. That's all I could think about. I was a corporate slog, climb the corporate ladder. I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm definitely an employee. My grand vision was work until I'm 65, have 4 free and clear properties and $1 million 401k. That's what I thought retirement would be. So that's what I did.
That's great. And I know also in the beginning of your journey, you mentioned about your first property and how it went bad.
Yeah.
And, you and Olivia, well, Olivia kind of kept your head in the game from what you've told us. And we're
Yeah.
glad she did. We're really grateful to her.
Me too. Me
So,
too.
yeah. But along with Olivia, I know she's always had your back. But in the beginning, did you have any other real estate investor friends or anybody that you
No.
could lean on?
That was such a mistake for me. My bubble was so small. It was really Olivia and I only for 5 years. Again, excuses are what they are, but I worked 60 hours a week. I traveled 20 hours a week on top of that. I tried to keep, around my daughter and stay healthy, and I didn't have any time. So I lived in a spreadsheet. I knew a couple of agents and we wrote lots of offers and follow up. But my world didn't change until after year 5, where I realized I was doing it wrong. Real estate's a people business. It's a people business. And I don't care how good you are, how disciplined you are, how broken you are. You're not going to go far, and you're certainly not going to go fast doing it alone. You know this, but one of my rules now for ORAT is you got to try to meet 2 new people a week, certainly in the beginning. Your network is your net worth. I got that from Jim Ingersoll way back when. But yeah, it's about the people, man. I can't undo a 5-year mistake. So don't do what I did. Try to meet 2 new people a week, certainly in the beginning.
Yeah, that's been kind of a struggle for me to go out and meet new people, but I have relied heavily on the community, and we know hundreds of people now, right, in the community. So
Yeah,
it was hard for me because we've had some struggles, but to, I guess, be one who doesn't like to ask for help,
yeah.
but
I've been there. I
realizing
know
I
what that's
needed
like.
I needed to lean on everybody in the group, and they've always responded so graciously. Um, when when you were starting out, I imagine you were able to get conventional financing. I think Dion talks about a period of time where you could only get 4 conventional
Yep.
loans.
Hmm. Yeah. So in the beginning, you got to remember I started before the great crash. So conventional loans were easy and got easier. In fact, I was around when they were doing neg am and liar loans and all of that because my journey starts in 2001. So yeah, we did our first loan 80/20, which means 80% first, 20% down. Our next two were what was called 80/10/10s, 10% down, 10% second, 80% first. And that was how we did, deals in those early years. Very much conventional bank financing, which again, a lot of that debt was toxic, but I didn't know it then.
Yeah, we had the same issue. We started out with those bad loans and lost what we were able to acquire back then. But um, that's one thought that has kept me optimistic is it seems like, and it could be a good or a bad thing, but lending changes day to day. So, when you hear one good program that could help us maybe purchase if we're looking to purchase, and then next week that program's gone, but they always seem to come up with another one around the corner that will help keep us going.
Yeah, what we have today is we have a vibrant non-conventional market, which I'll just genericize as DSCR. The DSCR Wall Street Money funds are very creative. They do typically bring out stuff and change them, quickly. But yeah, this is something we didn't have back then, but frankly didn't need. Loans were easy and got easier for 5 years, right? And hence the blow up. But yeah, the DSCR space is fun to watch. I have a couple of DSCR lenders on each and every week because it does change all the time. So the good news about that space, if you hear a loan you like and it goes away, it'll probably come back.
Yeah, that's been a good, cool thing to watch, and also just the journey for us. You know, watching the daily financial news every day has been helpful. You guys haven't. When I say you guys, I mean you and Matt and Dion. You REI Avengers and Millennial Mike. We've learned so much about real estate, but also just the financial literacy that we've gained over time has helped us, to kind of use our money more wisely, save in certain instances where we wouldn't have known how to do that in the
Awesome.
past. So we're grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a big thing, right? When you look at one rental at a time, the YouTube channel, it can feel schizophrenic sometimes because topics are all over the place. The good news is I'm the creator, so it's my show. I call the shots. But the daily financial news is really about I look at it as headlines and then going deeper and then talking about what you should learn from this. I really treat the daily financial news, which thankfully is the most viewed video every day, as education and inspiration, right? If I were to kind of talk about that particular series, which we've been doing for 5 or 6 years now, and it's a lot of fun, and that's live. Most unless I'm traveling, that show's live. So come join us at 7:30 a.m. Pacific, Sunday through Thursday.
It's been super helpful. One of the things I watched you and Brandon the other day, Build to Rent, talking
Yeah,
about speaking in high schools to high school kids. And I
yeah.
was I was thinking to myself that must, I don't know if it feels challenging to you, but to me it would feel challenging because when I was in high school, I was not thinking about anything but
Oh,
socializing and girls and that kind of thing.
yeah. No, it is certainly an odd experience. What I would tell you if you ever got that opportunity is you're not looking to connect with the room. You're looking for one Cody Davis. What do I mean by that? Cody Davis is now one of the millionaires we speak to each and every Monday. He's 25 years old. He started his journey at 18, and he credits, I have video evidence. He credits one of these guys coming in talking about real estate as what set him on a path to financial freedom at 25 years old. So, what I would tell you is go into it knowing most of the people in that room are going to ignore you. All you got to do is find one. And if you could change one teenager's life, like Cody Davis, that is like, that's just the biggest awesomeness I could imagine. So that's what I do. I go into all of those sessions when I get the opportunity, whether it's in person or virtual, and I just try to change one. My goal is one person. I just try to find one.
Have you ever found one?
Oh yeah. Well, again, we'll see if they follow through.
Hmm.
But yeah, we're always able to connect with it. Seemingly, it's usually 10 to 15% kind of stick
Okay.
around and get my email or my phone number, and they stay engaged for a little while. But hormones are what they are, and I was the same way. It was girls and cars. That's all I cared about. You know, um, I do not yet have a Cody Davis in my Rolodex. I'm still looking. I still want one of those shining stars, but not yet. So, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep saying yes to all the opportunities.
Yeah, that sounds great. Um, and through your daily financial news, just a quick thought. I met another person here in my local market a few months ago. We had breakfast, and um, he just called the other day and said, "Hey, I have this group of people that want to, come and meet you." And so we set up coffee, and
Mm,
half the group didn't show up, and it was apparent to
shocking.
him. Yeah, you find out real quick who's serious about it and who's not. But
Yeah,
that
it's
was
really funny. I put on events. Um, I don't know if you guys know this, but about 20% of the people that buy tickets don't show up.
Wow, that's a high number.
Yeah.
Especially if you're putting money towards it. You guys talk a lot about, why sometimes you put a cost to it because people are more apt to
Yeah.
engage
If
if
you
they're
pay, you
putting
pay
money,
attention.
right?
You pay attention. Yeah.
Right. Um, so going a little further into your journey, you have spoken a few times about, well, you use property management. I think you have two property managers you work with right now.
No, we had two for the longest time until one of them got distracted by the market changing and started to not service us very well. So we are with one firm at this point.
Okay. And I know you have mentioned that you fired a few in the
Oh,
beginning. What
absolutely.
what were some of the reasons for that?
Theft, stealing, miscommunication, not living up to expectations, lying. You got to, I've been very clear. I think property management's the hardest job in real estate. It's very low margins. It often is somebody's keep the lights on business, right? Because they're a real estate agent or a mortgage broker or whatever. They're using it just to keep the lights on. Um, it's a hard job, and you know, yeah, I fired the first five. Right, the first 3 or 4 years, we had five different ones and fired them for various reasons, and that's hard. Thankfully, we only had a couple of properties at the time, but was never a fun experience firing a PM.
Yeah, we've had to let a couple go as well, and I probably hung on to them a little bit too long, but
Sure.
we're learning, and that's one of the. I was wondering, is have you ever run across any situations where your property managers do anything to help you keep tenants other than fixing
Yeah,
things when they need to be fixed and stuff like that?
yeah. I mean, I just had my single point of contact at my firm today is her name's Amanda. She texted me the other day. I mean, literally, I think this was 4 or 5 days ago. Hey, tenant at XYZ property is leaving because she can't afford the rent. She's going somewhere smaller. She goes, "Would you be willing to match the rent?" And she stays. And the difference was like $100. I think it was $110 to be exact. And I said yes because she's been in that place for 5 or 6 years, and I didn't want a $8,000 to $10,000 turn on this unit. So I took $110 less to keep her, and she decided to stay. So yeah, absolutely. By having a single point of contact, by having weekly communications, by empowering them and asking them for advice, yeah, absolutely.
When I think it's your rule number 7, audit your network.
Oh yeah, it is. Yep.
And I know you did that in the beginning. I was wondering, as you progressed in your journey, I guess that philosophy still stands, right? Because you
Oh
meet
yeah.
people in different at different levels, and
I yeah, I would tell you auditing your network is something you should always be doing. And I could tell you my network today in 2025 is very different than 2018. 2018, I was a tech worker who was suddenly not a tech worker. And, then I, start this journey of becoming a published author and doing these other things. It changed. Then the YouTube channel grows and I get access to the Avengers, other friends doing this around the world, around the country. Yeah, my network is ever evolving, and I'm sure it will evolve in the future. There are just seasons. I believe there are seasons in life, and sometimes the seasons match up and sometimes they don't. And that's perfectly okay. You've got to protect yourself, right? I look at my world as me, Olivia, and Teresa. That's my nucleus. That never changes. And then I figure out who's closest to us, which is a very small list. It might be a handful of people. And then there's that second bubble. And that second bubble is it's always changing, because some people are helpful and some people are just battery drainers. If you're hard to be around and I'm like exhausted talking to you, you're going to get kicked out of that circle pretty quick.
yeah, that's true. And that was, I don't think we've ever had anyone like you're talking about, somebody who's draining, but and like a lot of people in the group, they don't have a lot of people around them that are interested in real estate, and some of them even
Well,
say,
that's why the group is so important,
uh,
right? Most of us, myself included, nobody in my network in 2001 was in or even thinking about real estate, let alone long term, short term, mid-term, build to rent, room by rent, co-living. It was a foreign language. And that's why we went so slow and we struggled, because I didn't open my aperture to go find those people. The school community is on purpose a magnet for go givers and good people. Like I monitor, like I do the Sunday sessions. I try to reply to lots of posts, but not everyone. But I do kick people out, right? And I'm just trying to keep it the happiest place out there. That's what I'm trying to do.
yeah, it seems, well, it's been super helpful. And like I said, sometimes I have to um, remember, sometimes I'll be going through something throughout the day and forget that how easy it is just to post a question, right? And then you get several replies and a
Yeah.
lot of helpful information. One thing I think that a lot of us struggle with in the beginning is, as you guys say, not to compare our year one to your year 20.
Yeah.
Um, and it's tough. I mean, because, we talked a lot about, well, Dion, for example, how it just seems like everything is perfect for him. But, you know, but then he comes back around and talks about how he began and it was tough for him in the
Yeah.
beginning. So it's easy to forget,
Yeah. Dion started in the hole, man. He was 80K in debt or whatever it was.
yeah.
He didn't actually get his first deal for 2 years, right? He had 2 years of slog before he got his first deal. And yeah, it's the first 5 years suck for everybody. Just the suck is different. It just sucks for everybody.
Yeah, and it comes at different times, right? For us,
Yep.
our first year and a half or two were pretty decent, and then last year was really hard, but we're still within that 5 year time frame. I think we're on year four now, but um, a lot of our friends, it hit them at different points as well.
Yep.
And sometimes we talk about how if your first deal is, just say it's a home run, that can give you overconfidence, and then you start,
False hope. False hope. It's dangerous.
yeah, and it is hard once you, even if your first few deals are not necessarily home runs, but like you say, maybe base hits, to get too excited and to go a little too fast. And you and I have spoken about that before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think going too fast. I'm always afraid of the person that reaches out to me going, Michael, I got 100 grand, and I want to put it to work. I actually wrote about one of the stories in my book, One Rental at a Time, where I introduced a guy. I think he had a couple 100 grand. I don't remember the story off the top of my head, but he had some money, and I introduced him around. He went down to Fresno one time. I think he saw 5 or 6 properties. He wrote 3 or 4 offers and bought 2 homes. And I'm like, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot. I've been doing this every day for 5 years now or 10 years now. I looked at those houses 17 times. They all suck. What are you doing? Oh, I just had to get rid of this, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to use it as a lesson learned. And like, you're trying to lose money on purpose? What the hell are you doing? Yeah. So I'm always afraid of the person that's got a bunch of money. And, I call them shooting stars sometimes. They just come and go so fast. But yeah, a shooting star with a bunch of money is a dangerous combination.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough in the beginning. I think I mentioned before that I was just looking for some way to save money for retirement because at back then I was 47, was panicking, and then I hit 57 after we went through bankruptcy and all that stuff, and I really had to get moving. And I figured real estate was going to be the best way for us to do it. So I did. I think I might have forced it a little bit because I'm 61 today now,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
pretty close to retirement. I hope I can retire, but I think I see a better picture for us, at
Yeah.
least having a comfortable retirement. Obviously, not retiring early, right? Because we're already here.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, uh, I have to credit Bigger Pockets for getting me started again,
Awesome.
and that's how we found you. But also, when we were just starting out, Bigger Pockets was doing a really good job at confusing us all about the latest greatest thing, right? And so I
Yeah.
also credit you with kind of, I guess, slapping me into reality and talking about just concentrating on one
Yeah.
concept, right? Because I was short-term rentals, midterm rentals, flipping, wholesaling, all these
Yeah.
different things. And until I heard that from you and
Nice.
just concentrated on one thing, we were able to start moving forward. And
Yeah.
that was a big
Yeah,
help.
I love that. Actually, I talked with the CEO of Bigger Pockets, Scott Trench. We're trying to get it every Monday. He just had a kid, so we're on pause for a few weeks.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, Bigger Pockets has gone through an evolution. I think it's fair to say 6 months ago they had a very hard pivot when David Green and others left. They're very much back to their roots, I think. But yeah, there for a couple of years it was, oh, I got 1,000 units in 17 seconds. Let me show you how. I'm like, oh my god, this is just freaking ridiculous. What are you talking about? But thankfully, they're not there anymore.
Yeah, they're not so much. I think a few of the recent shows that they did, like you said, they did have a big turnaround. Once in a while, you still see some things,
Yeah,
and I think after a while, after we're a bit better educated, we can kind of sift through all that
yeah,
and just pick out the things that will be useful for us.
perfect.
There's a
I
lot
love
more
that.
of that on, on obviously your channel and the other Avengers channels too.
Yeah, I'm not interested in get rich quick. I'm not interested in 1,000 units. I think most people, if they just get to four, win the game. If you can get to nine like Casey and be financially free, all the better. If it's 18 like Dion, I think that's the celebration. It's not the lumberjack 150 or 60. It's not Zuber with one. That's not what I want you to think about. I want you to think about four, nine, 16, whatever it is. These are all doable and doable in a relatively short time. We're talking a decade. Um, so yeah, that's very much where my channel lives and will always live because frankly, I get to call the shots. There's nobody running it except me. So
Yeah. You mentioned Casey. It brings to mind the thought of paying for mentorship. And in the beginning, for us, we did take some courses, right? We bought your course. We went through Casey's course. Ashley Hamilton was on Bigger Pockets a couple of times. We took her course. She's in Detroit. But
nice.
since then, all of the courses seem to have blown up, except for yours, Matt's, Dion's. And what
Yeah.
I like to, people have called me and asked me about the different courses, but today the courses are quite a bit more expensive. And you
Mm-hmm.
guys give so much information for free. We always let them know they should start there first. And Dion has mentioned it too. All of his stuff in
Yeah.
his course is in his videos. So, and
Yeah.
if you're not willing to sit through hours of videos, then maybe you're not willing to do it.
Yeah, it's really funny. So again, my course is ridiculously cheap. It's $3.99. How to get started one rental at a time. But absolutely, everything that's in my course is in my YouTube channel. The problem is my YouTube channel has 16,000 videos,
Right.
so it's going to take some hunting. All I consider my course is it's paint by numbers. If you want the quick start paint by numbers approach and your discipline, buy the course. But I actually tell most people, Frank, to join school. A, it's cheaper and it's a lot more interactive, right? That's how I learn best. But there are some people that like paint by numbers. And if that's who you are, go buy the course, paint by numbers. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point because I think one of the, I guess, if people need hand holding, Casey was that course, right? She really held your hand all the way through it till you
Yep.
got your first or next property. But and like you have mentioned before, if you join school and it's not for you, you're not locked
Right.
into like an
Nope.
annual contract or anything like that.
It's a $20 monthly thing. Like there are people that buy it for a month and leave. Totally fine with me, right?
Mhm.
If it doesn't fit your need, believe me, I don't need the $20. I put it up there because I don't want the deadbeats, right? I don't want the haters joining. So, yeah.
And I guess speaking of school, and you have mentioned a few times in the past that about your 50-year legacy, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and building school is the one thing that you hope sticks around for that
Yeah.
long after you're gone.
Yep.
Um, do you have plans for any other projects? I don't imagine you'd have time for anything more, but
So 2025 my big goal is to get healthy, right? I'm down 20 pounds already. That's the goal. I'm already starting to think about 2026. It might be time for me to write a one rental at a time sequel. Like what happened after I retired, right? Very much one rental at a time is up to retirement. I think by next year it will be 8 or 9 years since I retired, and we've done a lot of amazing things. It might be interesting for me again to revisit how we built this brand. So I'm leaning towards, and again, I reserve the right to change my opinion, towards the next project being writing one rental at a time, the sequel, which could be a lot of fun to kind of go back and revisit 50 flips and millions of dollars in private money, writing a bestseller, creating courses. I mean, it might be fun to look back on. So right now, that's at this point, that's I wrote it in pencil. It's not in
Mhm.
pen yet.
Mhm. Well, that would be exciting to see. I think just as you guys had encouraged us to start YouTube channels, right? Just to kind of document our journeys, and it's been a lot of fun. It's given us a lot of great opportunities. Like today's super special for me, um, and I think for us too. Because if I go back, it's been probably a little over a year since we started the channel, but go back to that first video and just you're thinking, who's ever going to watch this? But
Yeah.
things really have come out really well, and it's
Nice.
been a great experience.
Glad to
So
hear
I
it.
think I'm going to try, like you said, no editing. So we're going to put this out right away in time
Nice.
to let people know about Sunday because today's Friday,
Nice.
and
Thank you.
I'll certainly be there.
Awesome. Yeah. Again, I am my legacy again, as my first video 16,000 videos ago said on my couch in my California home. I'm trying to create something that outlives me by 50 years. And it's guys like you that are going to make that possible, right? Because again, I influence you, you influence others, they influence others. And, anytime I can give back to people that are helping me spread my message, the answer is yes. It's just a scheduling problem at that point.
Hmm. Well, that's great. I'm glad you had time today.
Yep. Yep. Me too. Thank you
Great.
very much.
Cool. And we'll look forward to seeing you on Sunday.
Sunday, 8 a.m. Pacific. I'll be there.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You got it.